Everyone likes taking the occasional selfie, especially nowadays when the social media algorithms just love them. Always guaranteed to rake in the comments and reacts, no matter how photogenic or otherwise you may be. But could that harmless bit of fun with your favorite selfie stick, in fact, open you up to the vile curses, hexes, and general malevolence of all the witches and warlocks out there in the big bad world? According to the real ancient traditions concerning the art of casting a curse, the answer is definitely yes. Let's find out how the ancients cursed people in order to elucidate you all, my friends, on how your selfie may well be opening you up to curses. Imagine, if you will, my friends, that you are an ancient Greek, circa 200 BC. Picture this: your hated neighbor who owns the villa beside yours has insulted you in public. He dared to call you a crybaby in public, embarrassing you in front of all your ancient Greek peers just because you happened to complain plaintively to him about the fact that he was rumored to have seduced your wife when you sent her over to his villa in order to complain about his having spat in your grandma's face when she dared to confront him about his stealing the succulent olives from the tree in your garden. Now, what would an ancient Greek do when presented with this situation and subjected to such objectionable behavior? Why, curse him into the ground, of course. Curse his butt into oblivion. This is a matter for the Magoi now, he might say in a fury, and storm off he would to visit the Magoi, or expert in magic and curses, the local witch or warlock, also known as the Goetes, the expert in curses. Winding his way through the old city streets of ancient Greece, he would eventually find his way to the mysterious and secluded doorway that leads to this sinister den of the occult arts. Pleading his case to the Magoi, his rage pouring out of him like a broken crock of pottery, the professional curse flinger listens with patient disinterest, having heard a million rage-filled rants and cast a million appropriately aimed curses. Now, what would this practiced curser first ask their offended client? According to the authoritative work on ancient curses, The Golden Bough, by James George Fraser, curses operated on the principle of sympathetic magic. That meant, in order to harm a person via a curse, you needed something that was connected to that person, something that defined them in a way. And so, the professional curse flinger might ask the ancient and angry Greek, say for maybe a hair from the head of their hated neighbor, or perhaps a piece of his clothing that he has mislaid. Or if nothing any better than this is available, then at least his name and address, so the cursor can have something at least to go on that points straight to the soul of the person to be magically attacked. Without this kind of pointer, in a way, which spiritually points to the person being cursed, a curse simply wouldn't take hold. That's how ancient Greek curses worked. A strand of hair here, a lost hat there, maybe even a crude doll with the victim's name on it. That's the best they could do usually in ancient Greece. They would write their curses down with some such pointer item included in the stone, clay, or wood curse tablet. Then they'd bury it often in a cemetery so that spirits could help bring the curse to reality. Or it would be brought to the temples of the gods so they may well help the ill fortune of the curse to make its way to your hated neighbor all the more speedily. But back in those days, there were no selfies. There was no social media. There were not even good old-fashioned 35mm camera prints, and even to have your picture painted by an artist was a rare luxury in those days that only the relatively rich could afford. However, if the cursor happened to be an artist themselves, well, then perhaps a secret portrait painted of that particularly loathsome neighbor of yours would be the very best thing to have in order to point directly to your victim. You see, according to the old system of cursing, there was no purer signature, so to speak, which created the most direct line to you than your own face. Especially your eyes. They are like QR codes to your very soul as far as cursing is concerned. But you couldn't just ask for the victim's picture back in those days because photography didn't exist. People nowadays fail to appreciate how rare it was to see anybody's face on paper back in the day when curses were still common. It would almost never be possible to curse somebody via a picture of their face back then, but it was absolutely the very best way to do so. In the days of selfies, it's the easiest thing in the world now to get many copies of this personal eye signature, which to the occultist are like QR codes directly to your soul, so putting you directly in the crosshairs of any curse to hit you, with full force and well aimed to boot, right between the eyes. To help illustrate this concept, only the very rich had portraits painted back in the old days, and they were sure to protect them, safe from harm, hidden even from the prying eyes of the general public, in the depths of their stately manners. Why did they go to such expense, as skilled artists were rare and expensive in those times, and why such precautions to safeguard their family portrait galleries? Because it has always been the belief that the artist captures the soul of the sitter who has their portrait painted. These noble families wanted the memory of their great ancestors to live on after their deaths, and this was the only way to do it. We truly do forget sometimes how different and strange it must have been back then, to have only a dead loved one's face in your memory, because back then, no photos, no paintings. Unless you were a duke or something, you had only your memory, and memories fade. The face, the eyes, like we said, lead directly to the soul, or so the people of old believed. And so the dearly departed were kept alive in this way, remembered, with a direct path always to their soul via their portrait. The cursers believed this too, and the nobles knew it. So they hid the faces, the eyes, with their handy little warlock QR codes, far from the prying eyes of the public. And so, watch out perhaps, next time you're fiddling with those privacy settings in that selfie folder. Maybe think twice before you include that suspected witch, warlock, or professional curser in the audience of that latest holiday selfie on the London Eye. Because you never know, do you? If it just might be the QR code they're looking for in order to level a life of hapless ill fortune upon you and everyone you care about. Sobering and a bit depressing, isn't it? Just one more awful thing to have to think about in this day and age. But I leave you with this one happier thought. If it's true the soul is caught by the painter who captured their sitter's essence, then at least that's one thing that AI can never take away from us. It will never be able to capture our soul in art the way a human can. And so maybe too, it will never be able to cast a curse as well as we humans can. That's one less thing to worry about anyways.
Well, that just about wraps up tonight's tale from Lorehound. Join us as we sniff out more of history's most interesting stories.
As the hound dog entered the dimly lit library, he sensed an aura of mystery surrounding the ancient scrolls. The dusty shelves towered above him as he sniffed his way through the labyrinth of books. Suddenly, he picked up a scent and followed it to a secluded corner. With bated breath, he approached the shelf and pawed at the book, revealing the hidden scroll. As he rolled it out, he knew he had discovered a treasure worth protecting at all costs.